Okay, now we're going to look at the third Excel chapter here. And this chapter is starting to look at different formulas that you can put in, functions and formulas. Um, because, part of what Excel does is just kind of a big calculator. And, what we're going to be doing here is doing some calculations using Excel. Okay, so we've got D1 summer grades open. We'll save it as fall grades. Now we'll go in and take a look. Okay. And so there's a couple of different ways that you can do calculations in Excel here. We could go in and we could do equals, you know, plus, 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 plus. And that would get us to the same answer. But here we can use these different functions to do it for us. And here we're going to use the sum function. Here's sum. The other click here. And then we just choose the numbers that we're going to put in. And if you click and select these numbers here, with the closed parentheses, you get the 37%, which is the number. See, the next thing it wants us to do is do the same thing in G7 as we did before, which of course we'll get the same, we'll get the correct answer here, the sum. And we'll select these, and we'll hit enter, and it's 36 for this student. And that's pretty much it. And then we just go down here and fill in the rest of the um, cells. Notice that because this is a relative reference, as the cell goes down, it's going to move the calculation as well. So like we go down from C6 to F6 here, we'll go to row 7, and so it's C7 to F7, and so on and so forth. Okay. Save it as D2. Let's just say that we did that. And we're going to click on the quizzes sheet here. And here we can use the auto sum function. And auto sum is basically it's putting in the sum function, but it does it for you. And there are a few different things that it will do for you. You can sum numbers, you can average numbers here. I think they just want us to do the auto sum. And it will kind of do a little smart choice of what what it thinks you're going to be summing here. This is exactly what we do want to sum. So we'll go ahead and we'll hit enter here, and we will get 404. And then we can fill the rest of it. This will fill everybody else's information. And then so now, in cell A18, wants to put class average. Okay. Right. Let's see. Let's merge and center these two, which we can do right there with the bold and italic formatting. Okay. And then C18 here, we'll go ahead and we'll do an auto sum again here, but here we'll choose average, and it will average the numbers for us. And again, because it chooses those for us, that's what we want. And now we want to go to fill all of these quizzes. Okay. Let's see, we only want one decimal taken down there. And apply a bold formatting and a top cell order. Okay, which is what we've got now. Insert a new column to the left of column I. Put it right here. And then I4, we will index. If I can type. Student average. And cell I6. Let's see. We're going to do the auto sum here. Here it chooses all of them, but we don't actually want that. We want to go in and select the range C6 to G6 because we don't want H in there because that's the total and it would mess our average up. So we just go in here, we select what we want, click there, and we get 80.8. Okay. All right. Fill that in. Okay. Go into the exam sheet here. And under exam total here, we will auto sum these and then do it for everybody else. These are pretty easy to do. You do that, select that, and then that is using the auto sum function. That's right here. Defaults to sum. If you want to use average, sometimes you might use count, min, and max. Sum and average are what you'll usually use. And there they are. All right. We will save this. And we will move on to the next. Okay, now we're going to talk a little bit about absolute and relative references. Talked a little bit about relative references just a second ago when we were looking at, was that our final grades? Yeah, like so what a relative reference it will do, like I mentioned earlier, as the cell goes down, it will move every function one cell down as well. Like here we have the sum of C6, F6, and as we pull that function down to the next one to C7, F7, it goes along with us. It's a relative reference. So as your reference point moves, in this case cell to cell, also the arguments will go one cell, and that works the same way if you're going left to right or up and down. What a relative reference will do is it will basically kind of lock the cell in place so that as you move down a spreadsheet, you're not moving that cell reference. And that the example here that they'll show is actually pretty good. It's basically if you have a cell that is just a single value that you want to keep using over and over on a data set that does change as it goes. It's kind of easier to see than to explain here. Let me show you here. So we will save it as an E3. Let's, again, pretend I did that. In exam here, our exam total in H5 is going to be 150. Sorry. 150. And in I5 is going to be 40%. Okay. So to get a grade out of, you need to divide the exam score by 150, then multiply that by 40%. You use these values. And it's kind of easy to see this when you do this calculation here. So in I6, we're going to do equals H6 divided by, which I can't find, okay, H5. So, so for Ashley here, that she got 123 points out of 150. And this would give her an 82%. And now if we did a normal fill like we usually do, and again, we don't, these are both relative references, H6 and H5, and as we go down, we lose the 150. So if we go here, now we're saying instead is H7 divided by H6, which doesn't make any sense because this is a Tief's score, but we're dividing it into Ashley's score. That's not what we want. We want to divide it by 150 because that's what everybody's divided by. And that's where the absolute reference comes in. What we need to do is change our formula where this 150 stays in place, and the 150 is the divisor each time. So what we do is we go in here, we can just take that away too. And what we want to do is we want to make H5 absolute. What we do here is we go and we do equals. There's a few different ways that you can do this. The book has you go in and press F4 on your keyboard. you can manually put in the dollar signs because dollar signs are what signifies something has changed to an absolute reference. And so in this case, we'll just do H6 divided by H5, and then I'm going to select H5 and I'm going to click F4 on my keyboard, not the cell F4, but on my keyboard, the F4 button. I do that and you can see that like, oops, oh no, let's go back here, do that again. And you can see here the dollar signs are placed in front of the H and the 5, and it's just the coding for what that indicates is the dollar sign H means that H is going to remain the row, or excuse me, the column at all times, and that 5 is going to be the number at all times. And so we do that. And for Ashley, we get the same one, but now as we go down, like Atif's will change here because again, here it's H7 divided by H5, which is what we want, instead of, H7 divided by H6, which gave us a number that didn't help us at all. So we do this, and we can fill in, and then we see that as we go down, for the student score, it's still a relative reference as we go, but what it's dividing by is this absolute reference right here as we go, and that one stays in the same spot. And is there anything else we need to do here? Yes. And so the next step is to multiply each mark by 40%, which also doesn't change for each student. So we're going to add a little bit to this formula, and we're going to use another absolute reference because, again, this 40 isn't going to change each time. We want to use 40 every time. So we'll go in here. We'll just go in here and we will edit our cells. And again, we'll press F4 here to get absolute. If you wanted to, you could just go in and do Shift 4 to manually put in the dollar signs. Maybe if your keyboard might not have the F keys, or it might be just kind of a pain to use. So you can do this instead. So we'll do this. And so now we have this, which is, the exams are 40% of our grades. So Ashley has 33% when it comes to, the overall grade that she's going to get based on this. And we do this. And again, as we look at it, H5 and I5 stay the same, but as we go down, the different students, because this H6 wasn't absolute, so that one is going to change each time we go down, but the other two aren't because we made them absolute references. If we'd made H6 absolute, then every number would just be Ashley's score because it would be, H6 and be reference that all the way down. Okay. So we see this and we have Atif at 32, which is what we want. We'll go to the quizzes. And here we have the quiz total in H5 is 500 and 20% here. Okay, and then so here, just very similar to what we did last time for Ashley, we'll go here, equals her score divided by 500. And again, we do want to make this absolute here. I'll just put in the dot just to show. You can't just put in dollar signs, as you go, or you can press F4 to make it absolute. And then we're going to multiply that by the 20%, which again, we will also make absolute. Okay. So now fill this in. And what does it have us do here? Okay, if we go to final grades, and it should have, let's see, quick final grades, and notice the final grade now includes grades for the quizzes and exams, which it does. And those are the ones, we can go back and check to make sure they're there. 16% for Ashley and 16%, and then 33 and 33 for the exams. All right, and that's how you use absolute references in your calculations. If you have a cell that you want to remain constant throughout every formula you use it in, you use that absolute reference. Okay. Let's see what we're going to be doing now. Okay, here we're going to be naming a range and then using that name in some calculations. And so basically what this is that you can take a set of data uh, and give it a name so that you don't have to retype that same data every time. You can just use the name for it. And you would want to do this, in this case, it's for the final grades, which is, would be an important thing that you want to have a lot. You wouldn't do this for every little chunk of data you've got. Just wouldn't make a lot of sense. But, you might want to in certain situations. So what we're going to do here on the final grades worksheet is we're going to select range G6 through G17. And then here inside the name box, which is right here, we're going to type final. Correctly type final. And then hit enter. So now you see that these all are the same, but when we select all of it together, it refers to that as the final grades. Okay. So now we can use that in our formulas. Instead of selecting this every time or instead of typing out every time, we'll just type final. And because that we have given that set of data a name, we'll just use that name instead. Okay, so in I5, which is right here, we will type grade analysis. That will fix, yes. Highest, lowest, and average. And it wants you to do some formatting on there that I'm not going to do, but go ahead. You should go ahead and do that. And then in J6 here, oh wait, I should have done that in I. Excuse me, I did those in the wrong cells. Move those over here. Just cut and paste them. Sorry. Widen that out. Okay, and in J6, we'll do equals max, which will give us the max, the highest score. What's what the max function does. It gives you the highest in a set of numbers. And here we can just start typing final. And once we get FI in there, we can see it right here. So we don't even have to type it all the way out. We can just double click right there. And you'll see that the reference here goes back and shows you what that set of numbers is. And we go ahead and we close it. And we get that number. If we switch that to a percentage, it'd be about 80, 89.5. I will say, even if we just go to max, you'll see that it's the same here if I go in and select it. Oh, I guess I can't because it will be the same. If I type it in, it would be the same, but you can also select it that way and you'll see final. We'll do that. And the next one we'll do min and do the same thing. Oops, I also put that in the wrong cell. My goodness. Let's go here and do this. Okay. Equals max. Final. And there we go. Ah, I did that in the wrong cell again. My goodness. There we go. And now we're going to do the minimum here. What the min function does is show you the minimum in a set of numbers. And then the average, of course, is the average. Click there, start typing in final. And there we go. And now we have the scores for those. And now we are going to switch these to the percent style. And do we want to do any decimals? Doesn't look like it. Okay. The next thing we're going to do here is enter the data from step 12 in cells A21 to B25. I'm going to pause it right quick while I type this in so you don't have to sit here and watch me type. Be right back. Okay, I put those in, and now we're going to give names to these values here down here. And so another way before we selected all this and typed it in the name box here, another way that you can do that is to define names on the formula bar, which is right here, the name manager. And we want to define a name. Okay. So this one is quizzes. That's what we want to call it. Click OK. And we'll do that for all of these projects, participation, and exam. And now if we go to the name manager, we've got the 4 that we just put in plus what we have for final. Okay. Let's see. And now we will go to quizzes. Oh, close that. Put quizzes here, and in J5 equals quizzes. And over here in exam, here on I5, we'll do equals exam. And so what this does now is it refers back to the cell back here, these names. So like now we're saying that, these are the numbers that will be reflected here. So when we go in and we change them in B25 and B22, they will update. So we'll go here, we'll change quizzes to 10. We'll change this to 50. We go to quizzes, and it's now 10. And we go to exam, and it's 50 because now it's just referring back here. And whatever we change these two over here would be reflected to over here because it's referencing here this value here, right there. Let's see. And it's a fairly short chapter. Just really touches on kind of starting to use formulas and functions. And that's what you do. Okay. Good luck with it. Let me know if you have any questions.